Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith and I'm excited today to be unboxing a game called Cthulhu, a deck building game. This game was produced as a result of two separate Kickstarter campaigns which were successful in the past. The first one was for this core experience that you're seeing here, and the second one was called The Horror in Dunwich. This comes from Wyvern Gaming. As you can see on the front of the box, it's a deck building game, so you can expect to find a ton of cards inside the box. Underneath of this box, you're seeing the playmat, which is a very useful thing to have in a deck building game, helping you organize the amount of cards necessary to play the game. In this video, we're going to unbox this thing. We'll take a look first at the back of this box, and then we'll dive inside the components. Can you save everything? A cooperative deck building game set in a Cthulhu world. The Elder Gods greet and invite you to participate in trying to save your wretched existence. The stars are aligning soon, and only those who have dared to piece together the clues from the mythos know what's coming. Do you and your fellow investigators have what it takes to save everything? I think not. So even the game itself is telling you it's very unlikely. You cooperatively work with fellow players as investigators to banish the Elder Gods and their minions by using Moxie, which is a force of character, determination, or nerve, to reduce their health to 0. If you banish the Elder Gods before they reduce all of the investigators' health or sanity to 0, you win the game. On the right-hand side of the box, you have the game contents laid out. We're going to be seeing these up close when I open the box, and you can see in the far right-hand corner here, 1 to 6 players. This is definitely solo playable in the base box. And this right here mentions the time, 45 minutes to 120 minutes, and you're going to be on the lower end of the scale if you're playing solo. It's also important to note that there is a badge down here calling this one the second edition. So between Kickstarters, this edition has been updated from the original one. As soon as you open up the box, you're going to be greeted by the Investigator Handbook. It's 24 pages in length. There's 22 pages in rules though. Opening up the very first page here, we see a letter to read moving into the game itself to get you in the mood as to what is going on here. Again, here coming from a librarian in the Miskatonic University, and you guys will all know that from the H.P. Lovecraft stories we know and love. The objective, components, and setup here come along next, and the setup runs across about 3 pages with about 8 steps in total. And after that, you can see that the actual size of text on these pages is quite large. So even though there's 22 pages to go through, you're going to be able to get through this quite quickly as there's a lot of illustrations as well. The other thing to note is the card art is very intense. In other words, there'll be certain cards that are pretty graphic, and there'll be other cards that are not so much, but it fits this theme so well. The next major component coming out of the box are the investigators themselves, and you'll see there's a backstory on them, a special ability, and an after-death ability. There's also a track bar across the top for health, and bottom is sanity. You'll use an actual tracker which will slide across the card to track these values. So we'll go through all of these investigators. You can pause the screen at any time to read them one by one. So we've got the bartender as the first one, the curator, the engineer, the professor, the aviator, the detective, the boxer, the priest, the carny, the doctor, the psychiatrist, the hunter, the mortician, the librarian, the grifter, the gardener, the time traveler, the magician, the grandma, the journeyman, and I believe the last one is the mobster. So there are quite a few inside this box. You'll also notice, being that this is a deck builder with a number of cards, there are some black dividers as well as an insert that has areas specific to certain types of cards, so you will be able to organize this within the core experience. So we're going to dive into the very first card pack here. This is about half the pack, and you can see these are all spells as denoted in the top of each of the cards. And you can see here that there's some that have multiples underneath of them, and meaning multiple iterations of the same card, and there's some actual single entry spells in here as well. To finish off the first deck of cards, we also have a bunch of location cards across the top here with multiples of them. Then we have a bunch of equipment cards along the middle here with multiples of them, and then a few single iterations of a few locations and a couple equipment cards. Here is a look at the next deck of cards. This one has all the big bads within the game, like Hastur, Cthulhu, and so on across. You can see all the large numerical values in the top right-hand corner depicting all the really big enemies you're going to be going up against and facing in this deck building core box experience. Down at the bottom, we got two sets of starter cards for the deck building experience. One is Sleuth, which is gaining 1 Moxie, and one's a starter over here for Stagger. You feel oddly weak. You've also got this reference card in the middle showing you planning and combat, as well as some tracking on both sides. There is a number of these inside the box for each individual character playing the game. Next up, we have a number of minion cards inside the game, and they'll be in varying amounts throughout. Most of these have 2 or more. This one right here, for instance, the Devourer, is only a single card. You'll see this is what the back of the card looks like. Next up, we're taking a look at the mythos cards inside of this core box, and you can tell from here there's already a whole bunch of them, and they're really, really bad. If you've ever played any H.P. Lovecraft based game, the mythos phase or mythos cards, any mention of mythos really results in something terrible happening. Here's a look at the rest of the mythos cards. The top 2 rows right here have 2 or more of each of them. These ones along the bottom are all single iterations, and I'm guessing that these are the types of cards you don't want to pull, as if there's only one of them, they're likely really bad. Next up, you're going to come across cards labeled as equipment. You're going to find things like daggers and dynamite, first aid kits, getaway cards, library cards, revolvers, shotguns, shovels, all kinds of stuff, obviously to try to help you against all of the nastiness inside this box. The ones on the top 2 rows have multiple of each. The ones on the bottom here have 1 of each. And the last set of cards within the game box are action cards. You'll see a whole bunch of these. The only one that doesn't have 2 or more is this one right here, Hope's Respite. Every other card that you're seeing here has at least 2 or more of each of them. Once all the cards are open and put back inside the box, you'll have about this much space left over, which is actually quite good. You'll see here that there's a lot of space here to still use areas for organization as well as storage, plus little trays in here for things like your trackers once you open them up. You'll also notice I'm not using any of the black dividers that came with the game just yet, in order to even easier distinguish between the different types of cards in this major area over here, which I'll be doing later on. The other thing I really like is the fact that once all the cards were open, all the packs of cards sitting here, it actually opened up a section of the box which fits the playmat perfectly. So again, very smart design in terms of the original core insert and also the spacing inside the box. That is very much appreciated. And with that, we are going to wrap up the unboxing of Cthulhu, a deck building game. I really hope this helps you make an informed decision as to whether or not this is a game for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.